I called a press conference. Otherwise, I could have sent the statement to you. But I would like Ibrahim to read the text of my press statement, press conference. Then I will comment on it. Ibrahim, you can go on.
To act on his behalf in accordance to the Constitution. Press briefing by Chief Dr. E.K. Clark, OFRCON, made in Abuja on Tuesday, the 1st of November, 2022. Laws deriving from the Constitution are made to enable smooth running of societies and governments. Therefore, all and sundry, especially people in authority, are expected to obey and abide by the laws of the land. Once again, yesterday, Monday, 31st of October, 2022, in the afternoon, the Nigerian nation was greeted with different descriptions of news headlines, such as, breaking, President Buhari jets out to London for medical treatment. Buhari jets out for 2-week medical check in London, etc. But in all of these readings, I did not read where it was reported that for the 2 weeks, President Muhammadu Buhari will be away in London for medical reasons. He complied with the provisions of Chapter 6, Part 1, Section 145 of the 1999 Constitution on acting president during temporary absence of the president, which states that whenever the president transmits to the president of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives a written declaration that he is proceeding on vacation or that he is otherwise unable to discharge the functions of his office, until he transmits to them a written declaration to the contrary, such functions shall be discharged by the Vice President as acting President. The overseeing of the affairs of the government as acting President is a must, because the Constitution used the word shall, which is obligatory, and anything done outside it is unconstitutional and illegal. The Constitution of the nation is the ground norm, and every aspect of it must be obeyed. Thus, Section 145 is mandatory and not discretional. The transmission of a letter to the National Assembly ought to be automatic, and the President of the country does not have a choice to tinker with it, or whether to comply or not. A President's inability to perform his functions, even for a few hours, mandates such action of transmitting a letter to the National Assembly. This is what is done by any responsible government. Therefore, it should not be treated as breaking news, taking the whole nation by surprise, especially since it was not an emergency. President Muhammadu Buhari must have long secured this appointment with his physicians for the checkup. I recall last year, 2021, in November, the President of the United States of America, Joe Biden, was billed for a routine colonoscopy, which will require him to be under anesthesia for a few hours. He transferred his powers to the Vice President, Kamala Harris, to act as President of the United States of America for the few hours he would undergo the procedure. And for that brief period, a matter of few hours, she was described as the first female acting President of the United States. As a matter of fact, after the procedure, Americans were informed of what was wrong with their president. Also, in 2002 and 2007, when President George W. Bush, as President of the United States, underwent a similar procedure, he did the same thing. He transferred power to his vice, who acted as president. Secondly, the President of Nigeria is constitutionally bound to inform Nigerians of whatever ailment or disease he is suffering from, especially one from which government money is being spent. Nigerians will understand he is a human, and that is why the framers of the Constitution provided Section 145. Unfortunately, up till now, Nigerians do not know how much of taxpayers' money is being spent on their president.
On the president.
Yes, sir. Yeah. For President Muhammadu Buhari to be consistent, as this will not be the first nor second time disobeying the laws of the land in this regard, despite complaints by the citizenry, is very disheartening. If there are doubts about this provision of the nation's constitution, the Supreme Court should be approached for interpretation rather than outrightly disregarding the laws of the land by someone who has sworn to uphold, keep, and protect them. Unfortunately, nobody bothers to take appropriate measures to ensure that the right things are done properly, particularly in a situation where the President of the Senate is in partnership with the executive and is willing to do whatever the executive says. I insist we have had more than enough. We are not in a military regime where people are treated as conquered people. At 95 years old, my group has seen more than enough, having been involved in the affairs of this country for over 70 years. One is forced to wonder, what are the fears of President Buhari? He has a competent and fit vice in the person of Professor Yemi Osinbajo, who is very able to hold the fort. He's proved this in 2017, when Mr. President was away on one of his numerous medical vacations. The nation is bleeding financially, yet the government of the day undertakes wasteful ventures. We understand that files are taken to Mr. President abroad whenever he is away for him to append his signature. This is spending money and other resources recklessly, not to talk about the cost of parking the presidential jet outside the country with the number of personnel and security detail who accompany Mr. President on these trips. These are avoidable expenses and must be stopped. Presently, the nation is so indebted that it is feared that debt's burden is left for the future generations of Nigerians to bear. It is a mere expression of arrogance of power for Mr. President to think that he can run Nigeria, a country with more than 200 million people, from faraway London, something he has not done effectively even when he is in the country. Once again, I call on President Muhammadu Buhari to declare a state of emergency on the ravaging floods. And to think that all these are happening in the melee of huge insecurity and ravaging flood is unimaginable. In the area of the life-ravaging flood, I do not even think that Mr. President is aware of the magnitude of humanitarian crisis the nation is being threatened with, when he has not even found it necessary to visit the places, to hold the children who look forlorn with no hope, in order to give them hope and assurance that the nation cares for them and that it will be well. People are dying in the flood. People are starving. There's no water for them to drink. Yet Mr. President does not care. Where is the milk of human kindness? We have a humanitarian minister that is not humane, who was only active to carry out school feeding of school children who were confined to their homes during the COVID-19 lockdown. In such an urgent situation of ravaging floods, she has decided to maintain a disquieting quietness. Bodies like the National Emergency Management Agency were not able to take proactive measures. Where is the mother of the nation, the First Lady, Mrs. Aisha Buhari? Her fellow women are in deep agony, seeing their children dying of starvation and treatable minor illnesses because there is no medication. There are reports that at the Oxbow Lake of the IDP camp in Bayelsa State, women are giving birth under such conditions. The same is being reported at the IDP camps in Delta State. President Muhammadu Buhari, during the ravaging flood, travelled to South Korea for a meeting without even visiting the communities which are underwater. A caring president would have rushed back to his country, even he was away before the incident. Even after he returned, he did not visit the states to see things for himself. Neither did he address the nation. There was a stampede in South Korea where about 150 people died. In India, there was a bridge collapse which killed more than 100 persons. He sent condolences to these countries. Fair enough. But what has he done in his own country that is undergoing worse situations, with thousands of people dead? Nothing. This is appalling. The country is currently besieged with so many issues, ranging from security, where people are kidnapped, killed, communities are sacked. The economy is seriously spiraling downward. The value of the nation's currency, the naira, is plummeting. There is a food crisis, which, except by the intervention of Almighty God, will get worse. Because they are chased and killed. Others who are lucky not to be attacked and killed in some major cities, including Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Citizens, we do not know what is happening with our education system. Universities, ASU, has suspended its strike. The universities are yet to function. I had stated in my earlier press statement on this issue that people's lives are also lost as a result of snake bites and other reptiles that attack them in their shelters and at the various internally displaced camps. Mr. President, please act now.
Thank you. Million people in this country. And one thing to not to know what is going on in this country. Everybody is silent. Docile. Keeping mute as if they are not part of this country. But the president of Nigeria is allowed to do whatever he likes with the people of this country. The president has no right to travel. No, he's taking Nigerians for granted for him to travel on Monday morning to Owerri, and from Owerri, breaking news that President has jetted to London, which has informing his people that he will be away for 2 weeks. We are human beings. We are not a conquered people. We are not in a military regime. So Mr. President should have regard to the people of this country. We have been here for over 8 years, almost 8 years. Nothing is going on. For Mr. President to jet out to London, which he has been doing for over 3 times now, without handing over power to the Vice President, is illegal, it's unconstitutional. Section 1645 says, whenever the president lives in this country for medical reasons, he must transfer power it shall inform, transmit to the, it will transmit to the National Assembly, to the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives. That will be a way. And during that period, the Vice President is empowered by the Constitution to perform the duties of Mr. President. The word shall is used, or may. So the President has no discretion. It is mandatory. Whatever action on government he takes in London is illegal. It's unconstitutional. So he must now transmit to the House from wherever he is that he will be away for 2 days, for 2 weeks. And the Vice President, which he has done it very effectively before. Is that why we are running away from him? Nigeria belongs to all of us. We are not a banana state. We are not one of these small African countries. Nigeria is a large country with educated people, with sophisticated people. We have seen it all before. Those of us in our group of 90s, we have seen it before. We can't continue like this. Secondly, Nigerians are entitled to know what is that disease or what is that ailment that Mr. President is suffering from that Nigerians should not know even though they are paying the bill. Nigeria must know. A situation whereby the presidential jet is packed in away for 2 weeks with several workers in London. It's intolerable. It's unaccepted. As a situation when we are in trouble with our economy, with our security, with our debt, and so forth. We cannot continue like this. Mr. President, I call on you again to transmit power. It's not discretionary to you. You have no, the Constitution of Nigeria is greater than everybody in this country. So please act. Now, I don't know why this is just to disregard the people of this country. In 2009, Yaradua fell ill. President Yaradua fell ill. And was taken to Saudi Arabia. The issue of acting appointment, because he did not transmit to the National Assembly of his intention that be away on medical vacation, this matter dragged on until the doctrine of necessity was used. Why have we forgotten? Why Mr. President thinks that he alone owns this country, can do whatever he likes? We would not accept it. Thank you. Any question? The Constitution 145 is very, very clear. Simple. There is no issue of 21 days. And the President cannot import into the Constitution what is not there. What Section 145 says, President shall transmit to the National Assembly the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, whenever that will be away on medical vacation, and in his absence, the Vice President, the Constitution now empowers the Vice President to act as Mr. President, and the word shall is used there. Where does Mr. President get that one from? That one does not exist, except that's in another constitution. I'm a lawyer. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yes. Any other question?
Agenda is order.
No, ask.
They say no.
You know, this is your country. No, we are being fooled around.
Yes, that's not everything.
You have said everything, sir.
Okay, thank you.